Hey guys, Zazubaar here, and I'm not going to do any cute intro for this or any kind of quirky exposition. I just want to jump right in what I want to talk about today. And if you clicked on this video, you saw the title, you know exactly what I'm going to be talking about, and that is the great debate of practical effects versus CGI/animated effects. I was in fact inspired to do this by a bunch of comments by a YouTube user on my my most recent Legendary Pictures Godzilla video, which was about the Comic-Con presentation with the trailer and the poster. Now, I'm not going to give names, but if you've seen that comment section, I think you can pretty much guess who it is anyway, but I'm not going to name the name in the video because I don't want to focus on him. I want to talk about it generally and my own opinions on the matter of which one is superior and which one holds up better. Practical effects, meaning CGI, suitimation, stop motion, makeup effects, prosthetics, all this stuff, animatronics, basically anything that's not done in a computer versus actual CGI, the thing that is in every movie these days, you know, creatures and visual effects that it's not filmed on location, they go to a computer later and add it back in using CGI, using multiple programs. So let's get into it. I'm gonna come out right now. If you guys follow my channel, you already know I prefer suit effects. I prefer practical effects. You know, things that are actually in front of the camera. I love suitimation. I love E.G. Sabraya's work. I love stop motion. Willis O'Brien is a master. I love Ray Harryhausen's work. Anything that's an actual object in front of the camera, I think is just downright cool. I love suitimations, stop motion, all that stuff, and prosthetics even. For the sole reason of, I think it looks cool. Now, I think the big thing here is realistic versus suspension of disbelief. Now, suspension of disbelief is when you watch a movie and you see something you know cannot possibly exist or be real, or you know isn't real, and you have to pretend it is. It requires some imagination on your part. And then we come to realism, where the movie, it looks real. And I have yet to see a film where I can legitimately say, I can't question it, that looks real. Something can appear realistic, you can be duped into thinking it's real, and that's where CGI comes in. A lot of people have told me that they think CGI looks more real, and I don't understand how, really. I just, maybe it's just me, but I don't see it that way. CGI looks animated to me. It doesn't look real. It looks like it was done in a computer. I don't understand this whole thing of it looks more real than suitimation or stop motion or anything. Like, it doesn't equate in my mind. I don't get it. Maybe this is just because I was a kid raised on practical effects movies, you know, Ishiro Honda Toho movies, just old monster movies, 80s horror films, all this stuff. And I wasn't exposed to CGI till it actually started being prominently used in film. I think my first big exposure to CGI was probably Jurassic Park. And Jurassic Park doesn't just use CGI. It was one of the first big budget and made the most extensive use of CGI in film history. I mean, CGI had been used previous to that, but this was the first big time. Like the previous year, we had Terminator 2, which had one character that extensively used CGI, but this was one that it hinged on how good the CG looked, and it looks very convincing. But it doesn't rely on CG alone. There is a lot of animatronics used in Jurassic Park, as well as miniatures. Oh, that's one other thing I forgot to mention, the use of miniatures, like we saw with the original Aliens film. And Jurassic Park makes extensive use of that. That entire scene where the T-Rex first shows up is made of CG and miniatures. But I just don't see how CG looks more realistic. For me, it depends. I can't say... I mean, I do prefer practical effects, but I can't say as a general rule, everything looks better in practical effects. I can't say as a general rule, everything looks better in CGI. I can't say that because I don't believe it. I think, depending on what the hell it is... I know I dropped out the other expletive there, excuse me. I'm very much so passionate about what I'm talking about. So I might slip up on my words a few more times, but whatever. Doesn't really matter. This is unscripted anyway, as you can tell, so whatever. It depends on what exactly the character or creature is. And I can't say... I'll throw out a couple examples. It'll be easier to talk about it more generally, because I'm trying to get down to... It depends. I'll throw out two main examples. Godzilla and the Hulk. To start off with practical effects, Godzilla looks better to me in practical effects. That's what I believe. And that's ultimately because the first time he was brought to screen, he was using practical effects. He was characterized in practical effects. And whatever form a character is born in, that's the definitive version of that character for me. As in, everything else will be judged on that first appearance, and he was done in suitimation. That is the real Godzilla to me. The one with Haruo Nakajima destroying a miniature set in a rubber suit. But, when I first saw that movie as a child, and when I still watch it today, I cannot say, oh, yeah, that's a guy in a rubber suit. I can't say that while I'm watching the movie. I mean, if I'm talking about the movie in a review or something, yeah, that's what it is. That's how it was done. But when you are watching the movie, you are immersed in the story, the characters, and the scenario surrounding the film, then that's a real monster. That is a real creature. It's an organic force of destruction. It is not simply a guy in a suit. And this is where suspension of disbelief comes in. If you can't get yourself immersed enough in a movie where you can see practical effects and say, yeah, that's part of that plane of reality. That this goes together. I can see that these two images go together, and I can believe that is a reality within the film, and watch it on that regard. Then I have no problem accepting that Godzilla is a real creature. And if you can't do that, then you kind of are not a film fan, in my opinion. You see, film is a storytelling medium. And storytelling, by nature, is somewhat exaggerated of real life. Real life does not quite have character arcs. Real life does not have themes. Real life is a series of events that build you into the person you are, which leads you to make decisions to go on in life. Life is not a story. You can tell a story about someone's life, but generally when you're doing that, you're still exaggerating some aspects of it. You cannot... Unless you're telling a bare-bones biography, which is not supposed to be a story, if you're telling a story about someone's life, you have to exaggerate some things for drama. And if things are not dramatic, it's hard for people to get into the story. So, when we go to practical effects, and you have to get immersed in the story, and understand that these two things are supposed to look like they're part of the same plane of reality, then I don't have any problem with accepting Godzilla as a real creature, or any of the monsters in Toho's roster. I don't have problems accepting that the Predator and Aliens are real creatures, because they're within the same plane of reality as the live-action actors. Now, I kind of got off track, but what I was trying to say before with the fact of Godzilla looks better to me in practical effects in suitimation because that's how he was conceived. And again, you judge every other appearance of that character based on that first appearance. And the big thing for me on why Godzilla looks better to me in practical effects is because of the way he moves. Godzilla is not really a dinosaur anymore. Godzilla is legitimately a monster at the point where he's hit by the atomic bomb. He is no longer just a dinosaur. And with a monster, you can take whatever really liberty you want to make it look however you need it to tell your story. Godzilla is supposed to be the embodiment of atomic weapons and the effects they can have. So, it makes more sense to me that he would be slow-moving and lumbering rather than fast-moving and agile. And the big reason for that is not because he's a dinosaur, but because he's supposed to be a physical embodiment of nuclear holocaust. And atomic weapons, the fallout of that does not kill you instantaneously. Godzilla's atomic blast kills people instantaneously, but Godzilla himself does not move quickly because an atomic bomb doesn't need to run fast to kill you. It's gonna kill you eventually because it's a fucking atomic bomb. And Godzilla's the same way. No matter how far you run, no matter how fast you run, he will kill you in your vicinity because he's just so he's huge, and that's just the way it is. No matter you will die by his hand somehow, whether it's by the atomic radiation that he's giving off, by his atomic blast, by being crushed underfoot, he will somehow kill you. So he doesn't need to run fast. Which is why I kind of have a problem with the 98 Zilla, because they totally suck at all the allegory. They're just trying to make it a creature. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with trying to make a fast-running mutant, as long as it's not supposed to be Godzilla, because I see Godzilla as that original lumbering, slow-moving, but he's going to kill you anyway kind of monster. I don't see him as a fast-running dinosaur. Now, here's the ultimate problem with why a lot of people can supposedly not take the original Godzilla seriously. The first time they encountered the character referred to as Godzilla was the 98 movie. A lot of the people who I encounter, and who Gorzard have encountered, who Adam has encountered, of all of us Godzilla fans have encountered, us who prefer the practical effects Godzilla, these are people who were introduced to the character by the 98 film. And if that's true, then you are forever imprinted on that CGI. That is what Godzilla is to you. It's just the way the brain works. It's word association. So you're going to forever say that the 54 Godzilla doesn't look like Godzilla to you because that 98 CGI is the way it looks. You see it as the fast-running iguana, not as the lumbering atomic radiation dinosaur. However, even with that excuse, I still cannot accept that you can't take the 1954 Godzilla seriously. And I kind of explained why earlier, but I'll get back into it now. Because if you can't suspend disbelief and get enough immersed in the film, and you can't see that the way the movie is shot, to me at least, it looks like they're part of the same live-action frame. The way the images are composited, the way Godzilla is shot, and if you can't suspend disbelief enough and see how well done the effects are, then you're clearly not someone who appreciates film as an art form. And these are the people who go out into the theater and just pick a random movie and go watch it and say, it was entertaining. I like the actors. She's hot. There was a lot of explosions. Let's go home and never talk about it again. And if you are one of those people and film isn't really a big deal to you, then don't go around trashing other people who do look at film as something more than just entertainment. Who appreciate the art of it. And that's why a lot of these people who do trash practical effects, that's why they do it, because they think that somehow they're above practical effects because they don't read into it that much, or they don't appreciate the art of it. I don't know. Okay, this is just someone who doesn't understand how that can work, and I'm trying to explain it, so it's very difficult, because that's not the way I am, so it's hard for me to explain why other people are that way. But listen, I get it. I get it. You don't look at film as an art form. You look at it as an entertainment. There's nothing wrong with that. That for many people, that's what film is. It's entertainment. It's just, I have a rough life. I want escapism. And if you don't think of any film, if you don't think a film is anything more than that, fine. But don't make a YouTube account, go click on a video about someone who does appreciate film for that and trash them. Because you're not appreciating on the same level as they are. So continue to enjoy your CGI. Just don't speak down to people who think practical effects are maybe not superior, but they still love practical effects. Listen, I probably should have said this earlier, but I'm going to say it now. I like CGI. I appreciate CGI. And now we're going to get into the other example, the Hulk. Because I think I've said all I need to say about Godzilla. So we're going to now talk about the Hulk. I appreciate CGI because you cannot do the Hulk, the real Hulk, in live action. Now listen, I know I'm a big fan of the Lou Ferrigno show, but that's not the Hulk. Or at least not the real one. The Incredible Hulk was a character born in comics. Comics are a highly exaggerated medium. I mean, I say film is, but film is not as exaggerated as comics are. Comics are, for the most part, at least classic comics are, highly exaggerated. And that's what I love about comics, but the way you can draw someone is different than the way you can make a person look in reality. You can make a 9-foot-tall green guy with huge muscles that moves fast in a comic book. You cannot find a person in the world, at least I don't think so, who can do that in live action. And Lou Ferrigno could not do that. He could run or kind of power jog, but he couldn't jump 50 feet in the air, or he couldn't jump, he couldn't leap miles and miles and still have that muscle tone. It's just not possible to do with a person wearing green makeup. And I still like the way that Hulk looks. I still think it looks cool, but it's not the real Hulk to me because it can't do all the things the comic book Hulk can. Now we enter the 3 live-action Hulk films. Excuse me. Ang Lee's Hulk, 2008 Hulk, and the Avengers. I'm mainly going to be talking about, I'm going to be talking about all 3. I'll just speak kind of generally, because I think all 3 of them, the CG Hulk, works. I have certain reasons for why I prefer the Incredible Hulk and Avengers Hulk, but I'm not going to get into it here. They all work because they bring the comic book Hulk to live action, using CGI. And it works. Because we've got a character here who's really well built, but also runs really fast and jumps really high. And that works for me because it looks just like the character in the comics. And also it looks, in most cases, like an organic creature. Not as organic as the Lou Ferrigno Hulk, even though that's impossible because that's actually something in front of a camera, but it looks like it did in the comics. So the CGI works for Hulk for me. Let me break it down to this. I don't want to see another live-action Hulk. I'm going to say that. I don't. Because it won't be the real Hulk to me. It'll just be a muscular green guy. It won't be the Hulk. And I also don't want to see... I also don't like to see a CGI Godzilla because that's not how the character was born. So, with those 2 examples said... And I know I talked a lot more about Godzilla than I did about Hulk, but Hulk there's less to say because I think he looks... I'll just say this. The Hulk looks better in CG because he's able to do everything the comic book Hulk can and also look like he's part of the live-action plane. For the most part. And now we get into... well, in a minute, whatever. But now we get into why I sometimes think practical effects look better than CGI. But, again, it depends on what the character is. So some things look better in CG than they do in practical effects. Some things look better in practical effects than they do in CG. Godzilla and Hulk are my 2 examples. Because, again, you can't have a giant leaping Hulk in live action. It's just not going to look... It's not going to look right. And you can't keep him having that muscle tone and the leaping at the same time. It's just not possible. Because that actor doesn't exist. And I can't imagine the Hulk being done in stop motion. It just wouldn't look good in my opinion. Because, I don't know, it wouldn't look good. But at the same time, here's a good way to diversify the 2. And just kind of generalize it even more. I think slow-moving, lumbering creatures look better in practical effects. Because, again, there's something actually in front of the camera. And it looks... Again, and when you have something in front of the camera, it's a lot easier to convince your audience that That's there. That's part of that plane of reality. And it's very difficult to scan the details of the suit or the stop motion or the prosthetics to find, oh, where's the zipper, because oftentimes it's hidden. Oh my god, I just completely lost my train of thought. No, I didn't. Sorry. So when something's slow moving and lumbering, it looks better in practical effects, because if you look at it for a long time, it's going to look the same to you, in my opinion. It looks the same. There's no time, even no matter how hard you look, you're not going to find anything that gives away that it's a suit. Or stop motion, or prosthetic, or whatever. Now, with a fast-moving thing, in stop motion, or in suitimation, or practical effects, it doesn't look good because it's... See, practical effects, the problem with them is that since they're actually in front of the camera, they have weight. And it's hard to run fast when you've got a 100-pound Godzilla suit on you, or mounds of makeup on your face. It's hard to run fast. So when you got something moving slowly, you don't have that problem. But with CGI, you can have something run fast and not worry about that, because CGI doesn't have any weight because it's not real. So the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park can move fast and look huge. The Hulk can do that too. And basically, the reason why CGI doesn't look good with slow-moving things is because you have time to see, oh yeah, that's a computer. I'm going to bring up the example of the most recent prequel to John Carpenter's The Thing, cleverly named The Thing. I was watching it for the first time the other night. By the way, my mom loves the crap out of it. I think it's a piece of crap. The Thing in that movie is done in CG, of course. No practical effects. It's all CGI. And there are moments where you can see the Thing on screen for like a good 3 minutes at a time, where there's nothing else on screen. And it looks like it was done on a computer to me, because it looks like it should be in a video game. It doesn't look like it's a real thing. It looks like it was animated. It looks like it's hard to describe. It doesn't look like it could be part of that live action plane. It looks like it belongs in a video game. And that was something that moved kind of slow, and you had time to see that it wasn't part of the live action plane. Excuse me for the voice crack. But if you have something that's moving fast, you don't have time to see that. You're going to see it move quick and say, oh my god, that looks so cool. Again, like that. Like the Hulk and like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. But when you got something like the Thing that's moving kind of slow, it just doesn't look good. Because again, you have time to see that it's not part of that live action plane. With practical effects, with something moving slow, it's actually part of that plane, and you don't have that problem. There's so many other directions I could go with this, but we're coming up on a half hour, and I just basically wanted to get out there my opinion on the debate, practical effects versus CGI. But the big reason why I think practical effects I do prefer that, and I think they look cooler, is for two reasons, actually. One, a lot of time and effort goes into making them. You can really see and if you're bought to believe that that's a real creature, that is a testament to the craftsmanship. And they just look cool. And to quote David Callett on the commentary for the American Godzilla King of the Monsters movie in 1956, he said that sometimes people get lost in the idea of realism, when sometimes it's better to say, oh, that looks cool. Pseudo-realism, I guess is the way to say it. And that's basically what I've been talking about today. Doesn't look like it belongs in that live-action plane. And also the fact that seeing miniature animatronic tanks driving on a fake road and being able to buy that they look real, and seeing that there's like 50 of them, that's just cool to look at. Seeing a massive, weighty-looking Godzilla burst out of the depths and give an epic roar, holy shit, that's epic. it doesn't have the same impact in CGI. You know what I mean? Again, it's very hard to describe this. Because the whole plane of special effects, it's unfortunately something that's very subjective. As in, it depends on person to person, what they were exposed to first, and just basically how they see the world, basically. The old saying of, one guy thinks a girl is beautiful, another one thinks she's the ugliest thing ever, basically. So as I was saying, the two reasons why I prefer practical effects. One, the craftsmanship again. I just think they look cooler. And they have weight to them, and they look like they were not only hard to make, but they just look cool to me. Because you see the weight of them. You see the massiveness of them. You don't really get that effect with CGI too often. Even with films like the 2005 King Kong, which I love, I think the CGI effects in that are great, are absolutely breathtaking. And well, part of the reason is that because they have an actual organic being behind Kong. They have Andy Serkis playing Kong with just CGI enhancements to make him look like a gorilla. Then that's a different story. But also Kong's a fast-moving creature. Again, it depends on what it is, but I think Kong looks better in CGI because it's fast-moving, he's a gorilla. Godzilla's a lumbering monster, so that's different. I'm getting so off track of what I'm trying to say. I apologize for this. This is just something I'm very passionate about, and I have a lot to say about, so it's very hard to organize my thoughts. I really wish I would have scripted this out, but whatever. I'm already like a half hour in, so I might as well just go with what I got. Anyway, back to the two reasons. The craftsmanship of suit effects, you can feel the weight of them when they move. And that's a very cool thing to me. The second reason, and I've stated this over and over again in this video, they look more real to me because they look like they belong in that live-action plane. When I see a person, or I guess a building would be a better example, a building in front of Godzilla that he's about to destroy, I know that suit, or Godzilla is actually about to crash into that building. And that it's not just two computer images that are supposed to look like that. Godzilla is actually about to crash into that building. And it's going to look more real because it's actually two live-action objects colliding. So that there, it looks, if something is in the same frame, it looks more real to me because they're both part of the same plane of reality. I know I said that over and over again in this video. I just want to hammer home that point. Practical effects look better to me because it's two things part of the same live-action plane of reality. It's the final time I'm going to say it. One thing that's not really a reason why I think it's superior, just one reason why I think practical effects are cooler, is Memorabilia. And this is kind of, I was hesitating not even to bring this up, because it's more something of, it doesn't have anything to do with the movie itself, it just has to do with the impact of the movie. I am very worried that in the next 20 years, we're going to stop having artifacts from movies. Because practical effects are being less and less used. It's all CGI now. Like, we have an entire museum of Godzilla suits at Toho Studios. There is not an entire museum of Transformers robots from the Transformers movies. There are statues, there are models of them, but it's not the actual things used in the movie. They don't have that, again, they don't have that emotional impact of, oh my god, Haru Nakajima wore this suit in 1954. There's no memorabilia of, from the new Thing movie. All the Thing effects were done in CGI. There's still prosthetics left over from the original, John Carpenter Thing. We still have the old Christopher Reeve Superman suit. Green Lantern can't have that, because Green Lantern's suit was all CG. So, really the thing is, there's nothing left over once the movie's done. There's no emotional impact of the effects. There's a show I really love called American Pickers. And American Pickers, there was this great episode where they went onto this cowboy ranch, and this guy had a bunch of stuff from old Western movies. He was a set dresser on old Western movies. Like back in the 70s, 60s, all that, those decades where spaghetti westerns and revisionist westerns were really popular. He was a set dresser for them, and he had all these awesome memorabilia and old sets and old costumes from those movies, and it was really cool. But we can't have that with the new Star Wars movies, because there's nothing left over. It was all done on the computer. Again, you could make live action representations of them, but it's not the same thing. Like, I love to have things left over from a movie. Like, it has more emotional weight for me. It makes the movie seem more important. So those are the big reasons why I prefer practical effects. But again, I really appreciate, and in some cases love, the crap out of CGI. I love the CG that's done in the Rise of the Planet of the Apes movie. I think it makes the apes look more ape-like. And that movie couldn't have looked as good as it had with guys in costumes. Like, it needed the CGI, in my opinion, to have that effect. But again, that was motion capture CGI. There was an organic person behind all those apes. Ironically, it was, again, Andy Serkis. So for me, you can't take the organic aspect out of film no matter what you're doing. Your movie is just going to have more impact and look better if you got something organic behind the CGI, if you're going to use CGI. I think the CG in Avatar looks great. Again, that's because they're using motion capture. So yeah, I think CGI can work great. I just think that, again, some things were born to be in practical effects, and some things look better in CG. So basically, what I want to say to all you children out there, all you people who pick one side over the other, continue to have your fights. But here's what I'm going to say. I respect both. I think both have meaning. I think both are important. And I think both can look great depending on what it is. I love practical effects, but I also appreciate CGI. So there. Anything else I want to say? Not really. I've basically gone on for 32 minutes about how much I love practical effects and why I prefer them to CGI, but while I still appreciate CG. So I don't know how productive this video was. I don't know how much you guys are going to agree with it, but please leave your own comments. Keep the debate alive. I think it's great to talk about this kind of stuff. I love to debate films, so I love to debate about practical effects versus CG. I think it's I think that definitely has weight as well. So definitely let's debate further in the comments of this video. This is definitely a bigger reason to do that here than in my Godzilla video. So definitely let's do it here, people, because that's what this is for. So keep the debate alive. Express your opinion down below, and please, if you're so inclined, do video responses explaining why I'm an asshole and why I'm wrong. Because again, special effects are a very subjective field. Everyone looks at the world differently, so everyone's going to look at the world of a movie differently. So please, leave your own video responses, especially if you disagree with me. So, that'll about do it for this video. Again, I don't know how productive this was, but I sure as hell love doing it. I love talking about it. So just to end it with a couple of advertisements for myself, check out my reviews for all the Godzilla films coming in a couple weeks in August. Be sure to check out my upcoming chat, or our upcoming chat that Chopper Pilot 5 is hosting with a bunch of us Godzilla fans. We're going to be talking about the Comic-Con presentation. We're recording that tonight, but that's going to be posted sometime in a couple days or whenever Adam posts it. So that's coming up soon as well, so be sure to check that out. And that'll about do it. So thank you very much for watching. Again, be sure to comment and leave video responses saying your opinions on this great debate. So that'll about do it. Zazubaar out.